open our meeting tonight with a Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, folks, and welcome tonight. Thanks for joining us. We've got quite a bit on our agenda tonight, so we'll try to get through it as quickly as possible. If you need to address the board, you can certainly do that here in just a few moments. If you need to leave before we finish this evening, feel free to do so. You won't interrupt anything that we're doing. So with that said, let's go ahead, Dawn, and get started.
Okay. Roll call. Supervisor Al Titus.
Here.
Trustee Dwayne Hagel.
Here.
Trustee Mark Baranowski.
Here.
Clerk Dawn Beam present. Treasurer Mike Rushing.
Here.
All right, great. Everybody's here tonight. No public hearing scheduled, no guest speakers that I'm aware of.
Actually, I'd like to have Dawn talk about this Michigan class.
Sure.
So I don't know if I want to do this now or...
No, let's do it right now under guest speaker.
Okay.
So, she's
Okay.
willing. Are you willing?
Yeah, I'm willing.
Okay, good.
So I was at the last meeting when Mike mentioned about other options for investments, and obviously I'm exposed to a lot more at a large city that I work at now. So I found the company Michigan Class, and they are an investment firm, and you can put money in, bring it out. You can, like, if you have something, it's not locked up like a CD, and that's what scared me when you first started talking about CD. You literally have to plan for 9 months, a year, whatever you'd like to plan for that. But this way you could actually, if there's something emergency comes up, you can actually transfer back and forth between these accounts. I currently have 4 different accounts at Michigan Class. So you can break them down by building department, general fund, however you want, and then it gives you one lump total. So you can actually break those down with your reconciliation and so forth. I work with a lady named Kristen Angel. She's a very good salesperson. She obviously will tell you anything about it. I think it would be great to have her come out and speak to you about her options that she has available, but I do make a very good interest rate on that. And I think that's good as far as instead of just sitting there, because interest rates have been down for years.
Yeah.
But obviously letting your money work for you is a good option.
It's traditionally the township has done that way back from whenever we put money in CDs, and the concern always was, is it available when we need it?
Yep.
So does any of the board have questions for Dawn?
No. What was the name of the
It's
company
called
that?
Michigan Class.
Michigan Class.
And they're at all our conferences that we go to. So if you go to any of the conferences, they're usually there and can answer questions or anything like that.
I've got some literature here if you want to look through it.
Okay.
Your municipality over there uses them as
They
well?
have for years.
Okay.
And like I said, I have 4 different accounts there. We actually have our ARPA money sitting in one of the accounts there, so that it's earning extra money, and we've earned pretty good. We have a fire department fund that's working to buy a truck, because we just put a order in for a $900,000 truck.
Wow.
And we have
It's
another
got
one
rims
coming
that
that's
spin.
1.5 million after that. So these are things that we can save for and it literally make money, and it's earmarked fire department, and it's earmarked ARPA money, and it's all in one lump sum. So it's called pooled cash. So,
Yeah.
but you know what your pooled cash is.
And from what she told me, she's like, right now they're making between 3 and 4%. It pays out daily. And I told her my main concern being that these are taxpayer dollars. How secure is it?
Yeah.
She's like, well, it is an investment, and with all investments there is risk. But she's like, we've been in business since 1992, and she has said we have yet to lose a single penny.
Okay.
Well, you got to remember, when you're investing, this is your first part that you're putting in is your immediate investment. Even if you do lose your interest, you haven't lost your capital.
Sure.
So, I mean, I haven't, like I said, I haven't either. I've made very good money on my money there.
Good. Good.
It's a great option for municipalities. I know municipalities are limited. There are statutes that specifically state what you can do and can't do, and you can't just go to the market and buy mutual funds. You
Sure.
just can't do that.
Any other questions for Dawn? None, huh? Okay, thank you, Don. Any discussion?
You have all of the
I have all her
information.
contact info and everything.
Because I would like to see her, if you can arrange to see if she can come out to our next meeting and give a presentation on it.
Cool.
And how it works and stuff. I know, Don, thank you for explaining how you guys utilize it, but I would like to see them come out and take a look at our at our funds and see how it could work for us and give a
Yeah.
presentation on that.
Good idea. All right, can you set that up, Mike?
Will do.
All right, great. Okay, let's move on then. Public comment. Citizen wishing to address the board. Please state your name and keep your comments under 3 minutes, which is tough to do. I try never to limit anybody. Anybody here tonight want to address the board with any issues? Are you kidding me? All
We
right.
got 3 minutes to rant
It's gonna be a
about
good
it.
meeting. It's gonna be a good meeting tonight. I don't know how to react. I don't know how to react to that, but I'll do my best. All right, approve consent agenda. Is there a motion to do that? And with that motion, would you please, whoever makes that motion, read
I will make that motion.
the full agenda?
I'll second that.
All right.
So the consent agenda includes the board minutes from the December 13th to 2022 meeting, accounts payable claims report, the payroll report, bond permit refund request, treasurer report, the revenue expenditure report, period ending December 31st of 2022. ARPA report as of December 31st, 2022. The FOIA annual report, the Memphis Fire Department annual report, and of course, any correspondence and communications that were received.
All right.
That was my
We,
fault.
go ahead and,
All right, roll call. Okay, Bob BM, yes. Mark Baranowski.
Yes.
Al Titus.
yes.
Dwayne Hagel.
Yes.
Mike Rushing.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. Thank you, Don. How about our regular meeting agenda? Are there any additions or changes tonight to the agenda? This always determines what the length of the meeting is going to be.
I have nothing.
Nothing, I have nothing.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting agenda.
All right, is there support?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, how about township news and announcements?
I didn't really have anything specifically. Most of the news announcements I kind of put on there on the upcoming annual meeting and the annual meeting for the budget hearing and the annual meeting of the electors are all posted on there. It's posted on the website as well. Had a message from the auditors today, so they're looking to schedule our annual audit for July 19th and confirmed with the two of you. So I did respond back. She was out on break when I replied back to her, so she'll make a final confirmation that July 19th will be our set audit date.
Okay, so it's okay to lock that in on our calendars?
I would say lock it in your calendars. I anticipate that
I did
that's
that.
good.
Yeah.
Keep that open. If she tells me otherwise, like, oh, we already filled that spot, I'll let you know.
Okay. All right, great. Committee and departmental reports. Zoning Board of Appeals.
Well, you want? Nope, you're on the. You
Did
got
I
Parks
jump-
and Rec first.
Did I jump too far?
Well, Parks and
I'm
Rec
sorry,
no
I did.
meeting.
See, I'm trying to push this meeting back.
I know.
Park and Rec Committee, Dwayne, bring
No
us up
meeting.
to speed.
No meeting.
No, will there be a meeting this month?
Nah, not till April.
April, okay. All right. How about Planning Commission? They're not on vacation too, are they?
Until next week.
Oh,
Next Monday.
We do have a meeting.
Yep, they had no meeting in December.
Okay.
Michelle was stepping down.
Yes.
Oh, do you want them? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's include that in on that
Why not?
on the department thing for
Yep.
that.
Okay, we have a planning member resigning, and we have her resignation letter here in front of us, which we need to approve.
Yeah, so-
Dear Riley Township Board, I'm writing this with sadness, but I am resigning from the Planning Commission as of February 1st, 2023. I have completed the year and reports for 2022, but my workload no longer supports the time and work that is required as the Planning Commission Secretary. I currently work anywhere from 48 to 54 hours a week, and if I can't do a good job, I would prefer to step down and let someone else take my position. Sincerely, Michelle Daly Brown.
I'll make that motion to accept Michelle Daly Brown's resignation effective February 1st of 2023.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and support. If there's no further discussion, we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Dwayne and I have been on long enough now that people are quitting for their second time.
You're exactly right.
I didn't hear that. I heard some voices.
That's how long we've been on there, that's what he's trying to say.
Is one of your alternates gonna be stepping in
We don't
No,
have
we have
we don't have an alternate.
With her resignation, do we want to, I can put it out on the website. I know we had one person interested. We received an application from one person, but I'd like to see if there's anybody else in the community who also might be interested. So I can post that availability of the opening on the planning commission.
Sure.
I think there's some
Well-
retirees in the back row.
Didn't we just get one last month? Was it her?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah,
I'm
because
trying.
she's been attending the meetings and stuff too, so, but I'd like to put it out there on our website and see if there's any other interest, because the more that we can get engagement and interest, especially with the planning commission, the, you know,
Yeah, good luck.
All right, yeah.
I know.
All right, anything else with planning tonight?
That was a good one.
Doug and Dwayne have been here since Chief Riley resigned,
That's what I was
or
thinking.
shortly thereafter. Well, anyway,
Oh,
well, we'll move on tonight then.
Okay.
no ZBA.
No ZBA, okay. All right, building department. Mr. Wendland is not here tonight, which is unusual, but I have nothing in building. Ordinance enforcement, anything to report for us tonight, Fred?
The one on Hill Road was in trial, and they have a default judgment against them for both the vehicles and the business. And then there was another one in trial for Dunn Road,
Yes.
which that was also a default judgment.
I did get copies of both those. So the attorney is moving forward with these cases that, of course, Fred has been assisting him as well with the cases that have been pending. Some of these cases have been pending.
It did say in the one with the business that you need to contact the sheriff department to have them, I guess, serve notice or whatever.
Yeah, Bob did tell me that, yes. We do need to have them serve a notice of the judgment that's already been put in place. So, all right, anything else for us, Fred, on that? On ordinance enforcement?
That was the only thing that was still pending in court.
Okay. All right, did the board have any questions for Fred tonight?
Both you and Fred, so Fred's done, when? The 30th of this month? No, the 13th, right?
13th?
This Friday? So we have nobody, when he's done, what are we gonna do?
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. We have a couple options. The only ordinance enforcement officer currently that has responded to our ad is Officer Buffa, Nick Buffa. Most of us know him. He was on our planning commission for some years. He does multiple townships, and that's my only reservation. I know he knows his job very well, but he does a number of townships still, and my concern is that he may be spread a little bit too thin. But we have an option tonight as a board to, we don't have somebody that wants to move in and take over permanently, but I wondered about the option of putting someone in place interim until we can hire somebody for this position. I've made numerous calls in the last month to different townships and spoke with different ordinance enforcement officers, several of them in fact, and this is a problem for most every township. They often hire retired law enforcement, as we did with Fred, but many of them, it seems, go back to work at some point, or they're doing something different like Fred does as well, and they just don't have the time to put into the job. And I don't know why it is, but it seems like all the townships I've spoken with, their workload has increased dramatically in the last couple of years, and I know part of that was the marijuana thing, but the townships are struggling, many of them like we are, to try to find a solution to this problem. The guys that are out there that are already in place don't seem to want to take on anymore or can't take on anymore. So I don't know what the answer is right now. I do know that I will be receiving those calls until we put somebody in place permanently. The complaint calls, that office always can forward those to me. But we may have to hire people, different people right now, such as Fred mentioned, that this notice needs to be served. I know Mr. Vickery has used Nick Buffa already to serve a notice that had to be served. So I'm not sure what the answer is right now. We're still working on this. What would the board suggest tonight?
What if we get Buff as an interim, do like a 90-day trial with him? If it turns out to be too much for him, we can keep pursuing, find a replacement.
That's an option, and I wondered about Fred. I don't know what his time is or his commitments are, but we'd asked him last month if you're able to continue until we put somebody in place permanently, even on an interim basis. I guess you'll have to tell us whether that's a possibility or something you're interested in or not.
Wasn't Nick enforcement officer for the township before?
Pardon me?
Wasn't
Nick?
Nick?
To my knowledge, Nick never did enforcement here. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
Board
as long
member.
as I've been on the board now.
He was on our planning commission, I know that.
He was on the Memphis Police Department.
Yeah.
That might be what you're thinking of.
Yeah, I don't
In the
think so,
office all
Don.
the time.
Yeah, he currently does Wales, Berlin. He doesn't do Columbus any longer. There's a number, still several townships that he does ordinance enforcement for. Whether he's interested in even working with us interim, I have no idea. I haven't approached him on that. I wanted to get through our meeting tonight first before I respond back to him. But we have been leaving each other messages. I just haven't spoke directly with him. And I'm waiting for some direction from the board tonight on this.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to ask Fred, if he would stick around until we find somebody, or if we do find somebody right away, if he would maybe stick around for another 30 days after we get this new person.
Orient the new person to what's in place right now. I don't know if Fred can only answer that
Yeah, it's
question.
up to you, Fred.
He can't answer it, so if you'd
You know,
rather not,
I'll help
Fred.
anyone that comes in to the position. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, again, it just, it's time restraints, basically. It's
Right. Right, that's been the whole problem. The job demands a lot of time, it really does.
And training someone takes a lot of time too.
It does, that's gonna take time too, so, we'd be
I
much,
mean, would you be willing to stick around another 30 to 60 days?
we should have somebody in 30 days. I'm pretty
Have we had
confident.
anybody respond to the ad?
Just that one, right, Nick?
Yeah, Nick was the only one responded to the ad.
Where'd you advertise?
Pardon me?
Where did you advertise?
In the Voice.
Voice.
In the Voice.
Was
What's
on
the-
our,
It's in both both the Bay and the Blue Water Voice that it's on.
What's that other, it's on the internet, I don't know what it's called though.
when I spoke with these other townships, they kind of chuckled. Huh, you're looking for a what?
What do we call it?
Ordinance enforcement officer. It's just,
Tri-City Times.
it's a tough job.
Mm-hmm.
Really is.
Covers K-Pic and Emily City and Belmont.
More out that direction.
The other townships are like we are. You really don't have the extra money to pay somebody to do the kind of job that needs to be done. So they try to do the best job they can with the money that we're able to pay them. And Fred will attest to it. There's just there's a lot of work involved and a lot of time, and you have to be you're on call all the time because something comes up, you get the call, you got to go. At least go out and check it out. So it's up to Fred. If he wants to stick it out another 30 days, we can certainly pay him for another 30 days, and in that time period, try to put somebody in place that he could just maybe orient with the job or bring up to speed with the cases that are open and what needs to be done. What's the board want to do tonight?
Yeah, like, what's your answer, Fred? What do you think? 30,
Nothing like
60,
putting the guy on
90?
the spot, huh? I'm good at that, Fred. Sorry.
Or I would say like
We
interim.
start with 30.
I just think of payroll. So I think in like where our meetings are halfway through the month. So
Yeah.
rather
I
than
mean, yeah, but-
splitting a thing.
If it's up to Fred, I mean, he might say, okay, in 30, well then, so that 30 days up, it's like, Fred, you want to do another 30 until we find some? Because I don't think it's gonna happen in 30 days.
I just texted someone that said they're gonna apply Thursday, so.
Thursday? Okay. Yeah, we're starting to get a little more interest trickling in, and I think that, I think we'll have someone in 30 days.
I think the holidays, the timing of the holidays
Yeah,
too.
that was bad.
Yeah, that was.
What about this?
Yeah.
Is he interested in the job, or?
Yeah, Aaron hadn't responded to that. I tried to talk him out of it, but it didn't work. But we've got him and Nick and maybe the person Doug just mentioned. So I'm confident we'll have somebody in there in 30 days. But it would be helpful, especially if Fred was here to acquaint them and bring them up to speed with the cases that are pending. So
Okay.
anyway, I would recommend or just suggest that we pay Fred for another 30 days and have him available to do what absolutely has to be done and to acquaint somebody that we can put in that place.
I would recommend like 45, let's make it like end of February, so that way it makes it easier for payroll, like a
Two
full.
full
Right, because we're halfway through January.
Okay.
30 days puts us mid-February.
Okay. Not to run longer than the end of
End of February, yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay with you?
Is that agreeable with you, Fred?
As interim,
Yeah,
And again,
If somebody's trained ahead of time, you could say like, okay, I'm passing the baton, I'm done. But
and again, we're just asking to do what has to be done. In other words, like this judgment that you mentioned that has to be served. Bob may have somebody to do that again, but we don't expect you. I don't expect you to do what
Bob
you've
was
been
saying
doing.
that was handled typically by the county, by the
Okay.
sheriff department.
That's
just
true.
the business. So-
Okay,
I think you're right.
He's not to take on any more complaints.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Just, I mean, you can take the calls and make sure we know about them, but not actively engage in those. Because if you're acquainting someone with our system, that's going to take some time away from the other responsibilities that you've had in the past too. So,
right, because there's going to be another 30 days to the next meeting if there's any other further interest that comes forth, and if anybody's appointed at our next meeting, and then we have the training period through the end of February, which will hopefully be like that 2 weeks after the next meeting, so.
any other comments, thoughts from the board tonight? It's up to you, Fred. Give us a yes or no. You're in control here.
I know, but don't feel, I know the board's pressure,
No,
you may
don't
feel
feel-
that pressure, but don't feel completely obligated, but
Right.
if you are really not comfortable with fulfilling, as interim please speak up and say so, but if you are willing to help out, please speak up and say so either way.
Yeah.
No, I'm willing to help out. I have no problem helping out. Like I said, it just got more involved, more time consuming than what I anticipated it
Yeah.
would be. Obviously, whoever's going to be coming in, they're going to run up against that as well. But I don't have a problem now. Go over everything that I have as far as what's open now and pending. If they have some background on it, they might have some different ideas than
Right.
what I had. So,
We may have someone there too that would want to step in quicker than 30 days or the end of February. And if that's the case, we qualified and willing to step in and take over, then we wouldn't need Fred as long as we think we might.
Right, but the board has to be able to appoint that person at the next meeting.
Well, unless you have a special meeting
Right,
to do that. I
Correct.
mean, Is it that
just
critical?
specifically for that, yeah.
Right.
I don't think
Right.
it's that critical.
Yeah.
So should I take that as a yes, Fred?
yeah.
Okay. Can we have a motion then to, who wants to make that motion?
For how many days?
To the end of February.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Fred.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's
Is
gonna
that
call
all
me
in
tonight.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Yeah, I want to say too on Fred's behalf that I worked closely with Paul Wilson before Fred came and took up the job. And the cases, Fred's probably dealt with at least triple or quadruple the cases that Paul had to deal with. And so the job turned out to be more than he expected, more than I expected. I just didn't anticipate that kind of increase in calls. So anyway.
There's a lot more out there.
Oh, and a lot more out there, absolutely. Absolutely. I hear about them frequently, and I know there's many that I'm not hearing about too. So they're there, and we have to address them, so we will. All right, let's move on then. Roads. Do they have anything on roads tonight? I don't have anything, other than there isn't the annual meeting in February. We haven't got a date on that yet. It's usually the last Tuesday or Wednesday of the month. And it will be an in-house meeting this time, not a Zoom meeting.
I did talk to Brennan in K-Bank at one of our stores about, because they're not putting as much salt down. He said they should have a surplus amount of money this summer for extra projects. So,
Because we've had a slow winter.
yeah. So they're saying
God
a lot
would.
more- they're saying a lot
Yeah, it ain't
more.
over yet.
It's a long way from over yet. Yes, Florence.
Yes, support. I would like to let everyone know that the St. Clair County Road Commission scraped my road today, did an excellent job, and it seemed really a plus to have that done.
How'd she get
Wow.
hers?
I had nothing to do with that. I'd like to tell you I take
Told me
credit
I'm
for
done.
it, but I had nothing to do
She's
with
got
that.
some gold.
I really appreciate
Yeah.
it, thank you.
You're welcome. I'll thank him.
Okay.
Brennan did talk to me about the Braidwood Road Bridge. They want to do some repairs on that this summer. And so they'll be discussing that at the annual meeting with us as well. Cost and what's involved. So the bridges they don't have money to replace, they want to try to improve.
When is that beginning of February?
Usually in February.
Usually in
yeah.
February.
Usually last week of February.
But they switched it to the afternoon hours. I can't, it's hard.
Well, what we usually do is get a letter and then we have to call in and lock in a time.
Yeah.
So we haven't got the letter yet that I'm aware of. Have we gone?
That I'm aware of.
Okay, it'll come soon, I'm sure. All right, let's move on tonight. Order of business under unfinished business. Purchase of bank CDs. Are we gonna hold off on
Hold
that?
off till next month.
All right.
See if I can get her
Table.
motion.
Do we need a motion to table that? I'll make that motion to table until next month meeting.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Jumping down to new business, township email accounts.
Yep. We got a notification from our service provider. Our email accounts, which is called mailenable.com, which is what the township currently has. So I received a notification from, it's now no longer IT Right, but VC3. And they're changing the way that they handle the email accounts across the board for everybody. So this is affecting everybody, not just us. How it is now, our email accounts have been provided to us at no charge, and that's going to change. If we keep the same mail enable access, it's going to be a new rate of $3.50 per mailbox per month that it will be charged to the township. And or the other option, to keep the same mail enable that we're currently using, or upgrade to Office 365 at $4 per mailbox per month, as well as a migration of the migrating existing emails that are still like in the mailbox. Those would need to be all migrated over with a labor cost. The benefits of the Office 365 hosted email is it's Microsoft Office applications, all of it, like the calendar, the tasks, it's more business application friendly. Office 365 is smartphone compatible. Mail Enable is not very easily to get on your smartphone or like a tablet or anything like that. It's not very user friendly in that section. It's really an outdated, old application that's been around for 20 years. Where Office 365, they're constantly upgrading, they're always changing, plus Office 365 also has a governmental level hosting of security enabled with their product to use. So they've really, they're on top of, from what I understand, what they're telling me is they're on all the security issues, especially when it comes to government security issues, which is a whole nother ball of wax than just normal trying to spam people. The migration I kind of asked them what is the estimated labor cost for the migration of the email accounts. Is about $100 per mailbox. Emails are, not all of them, but a great deal of them, especially with mine and the treasurer and the supervisor and OEO. The potential is those are foilable. If there's any parts of them, potentially it's foilable. So a lot of times we reference those emails historically for historical data. So we don't want to, and we kind of really can't just eliminate that history of those emails in our mailboxes. Currently, I gave you a list of all of our current email accounts. Some of them are no longer used, so there's 3 of them that I'm looking to remove altogether. They're inactive or not being used. Everything else we would keep. So currently we have 19 different email accounts, so subtract 3 of them. I was looking at possibly adding one for a future use one. So 16 to 17 email accounts is pretty much what we're going to be keeping. So every individual needs them. We have supervisor, clerk, treasurer, both trustees. We do have a public general contact, which is on our website. So if somebody from the public goes to our website and they don't know who specifically they need to go to, they go to info, and then we direct that accordingly. Our front office, deputy treasurer, deputy clerk, the assessor, ordinance enforcement, Parks and Rec has 1 email account, Planning Commission has 1 email account for their secretary, zoning administrator, the building department secretary, and the administrative assistant. So that is the breakdown of all the emails that we have. So I'm looking for guidance from you guys. What do you think? I personally would like to see us move to Office 365. I think it'll be really compatible, especially with the sharing of calendars and scheduling different things among different departments and different areas within the township. But
So that means we're gonna have to set up brand new emails, correct?
Nope,
Or will it
nope.
transfer?
They will transfer.
Directly over?
Yeah,
Okay.
they would transfer them directly over. So the actual email accounts themselves would stay the same. It'll still be RaleighTownship.com, but it'll be migrated into Office 365 from the mail enable accounts, which are completely 2 different products.
So it's gonna be roughly like $1,800.
Yeah, estimated. Yep, he said approximately. I don't think that you guys would really have a whole heck of a lot, but
Ron, did you have a question?
Yep, did you ask them about the .gov emails? Because I've been hearing that those are much more secure.
right. I will ask them about it. We're supposed to be part of our package become the .gov, but I've just been extremely busy from the upgrade kind of thing. So
Sure.
it's been on my mind to ask them about that.
We also work with VC3, which is formerly IT, right?
Yeah, that was part of the
They've been really
package.
talking to us about .gov emails.
Yeah, that was part of the package that we had when we did the website update and stuff with them, was about that. And yeah, I'll bring it up with them because they kind of went silent on that part.
There's a lot going on, I get it.
Yeah.
I just had a question about, you want to remove the building inspector.
Yeah,
He doesn't-
because
He doesn't use his?
he doesn't,
At
no.
all?
Because it all goes through Heather. It all goes through the secretary.
Okay.
Yeah, and the thing is, because it's mail, he has his own cell phone through the township. Mail enable is very difficult to get set up on the actual cell phone. It's not very compatible. Heather tried, it's not working properly, so he's not getting the emails to that email account,
Okay.
kind of thing. So, and it's just been not being used by him.
Okay.
And most communications for the building department all come through the office through Heather.
Right. Okay.
So do you want board action on this tonight, or? do you
I would
want-
like to, so we can get it implemented if that's possible, because this is going to take effect April 1st according to their email. So they're saying that we're going to start being charged So this is January. It's going to take probably a little bit of time to get everything all migrated over for that time frame. So I would like to notify them of what we decide.
What happens if they come back and saying we can't use .gov?
Well, no, it'll still be .com. They're going to migrate our existing right now. They're going to migrate our existing accounts over.
Okay.
So that's all I'm worried about right now. We'll worry about the .gov later.
All right.
Because the security element is there, and the .gov is another step of security as well. But they
I'm just looking at it as if the .gov was included in the package they quoted us, it's going to save us $1,800.
well, not for the email migrations though.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's I think that's a little bit different. I'll check with them on that, but yeah, I don't think.
So you don't see any reason to postpone this?
No, I would like to give them an answer if we do. So estimated, yeah, I would say 1,800 would sound about right for the migration cost. And then since this is going to be starting as of April 1st,
Yeah.
we're
Can
not.
we use ARPA money on this?
Yeah, we can.
It's system improvements,
Well,
so.
It is system improvements. Yeah.
So that's correct me if I'm wrong, so that would be a yearly contract at, say, $4 per mailbox
Yeah,
per
we're
month,
going to get a
correct?
monthly billing, and that's something that we would include in our budget planning.
Okay, but there's no contract or anything like that, we just
It-
sign up to it to use that service, correct?
Yeah, right now it's part of our contract right now. Well, I don't want to say contract, but our initial agreement when they did the changeover, so which is going to be expiring, and so that's why they're like, as of April 1st, we'll get the new contract, and because everybody's going to get billed. But they just want to know, are we going to keep you with Mail Enable at $350
Right.
or Office 365 at $4? Because it's going to be changing over. We're going to get billed for it either way.
All right, do you want to make a motion then, Dawn?
I'll make a motion to go with Office 3 to migrate our township email accounts from Mail Enable to Office 365 at a monthly rate of $4 per mailbox per month with VC3, and with an estimated migration cost of $100 per mailbox at an estimated overall cost of $1,800 for that migration.
All right, is there support for that motion?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All right, then let's do a roll call vote.
Okay. All right, Don Beam, yes. Mark Baranowski?
Yes.
Al Titus?
Yes.
Mike Rushing?
Yes.
Dwayne Hagel?
Yes.
Motion carried. All right, let's come back to our new business on the agenda.
Yep.
Resolution number 2023-01.
Yep.
Annual budget hearing date.
This is just taking care of normal business. So we have our annual budget hearing dates resolution to be held. Let's see here. To adopt. Okay, so we need a motion then to adopt resolution number 2023-01, the annual budget date to be scheduled on Tuesday, March 28th, 2023 at 7 p.m. So I need a motion on that. Who's going to?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and support. All in favor?
Nope,
Aye.
we need a roll
Roll
call.
call.
You want
It's
roll
a,
call?
it's a resolution.
Sure thing.
Mike Rushing?
Yes.
Dwayne Hagel?
Yes.
Don Beam, yes. Mark Baranowski?
Yes.
Al Titus?
Yes, motion carried. Now we got another one, right?
Yeah, then the other one, so,
Annual
resolution,
meeting of
yep,
electors.
yeah. Resolution number 2023-02 for the annual meeting of electors dates for the 2023-2024 fiscal year to be held on March 28th at 7 p.m.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion? Don't think so.
Okay, roll call. Mike Rushing?
Yes.
Dwayne Hagel?
Yes.
Mark Baranowski?
Yes.
Al Titus?
Yes,
Don Beam, yes.
motion carried. Number 4 on our new business,
Oops, sorry.
wind and solar moratorium ordinance. We had a sample, did we not, from, was it Wales?
Yes,
This is what Wales has in place right
Yes.
now, correct?
yes. So I took what they sent us and converted it into something for the board to review, for Riley Township to consider.
Yeah, I would think we would want to discuss it with our attorney before we take action on this.
This was sent to him.
Pardon me?
This was sent to him.
Okay. Have you got an opinion back from him? Because I did not.
I did not.
I know he doesn't like long-term moratoriums. This is what, 18 months?
Yeah, they put theirs in for 18 months.
Want to table this for 30 days?
I think we should, because I don't think he's going to want to do over 6 months.
No, but we can change that if that's
Well,
whatever.
it's true, we can change that too, so
Mm-hmm.
if
Yeah.
the board wants to put something in place, I'm all ears.
It's not gonna hurt, like you said, we can always come back and change it.
Yeah,
Next
that's
month.
true.
We need his opinion, or no?
No.
First,
Pardon me?
should we have his opinion first, or no?
Not necessarily. I mean, Dawn said we can change it if we put it in place.
Or next month, we can just choose to remove it.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
Right, if we, yeah, I mean,
This doesn't get published anyways, correct? To the newspapers or nothing.
yes, it does get
Oh,
published.
it does, okay.
Yes.
Or if it passes, it does get published.
Right, because this
Yeah.
is an ordinance, and if you see section 7 here, this
Okay,
ordinance
yep.
is effective 7 days following publication.
Okay, yep,
So yes,
okay, sorry.
It is published.
Yep.
Because the public has to be notified of this.
Yep, gotcha.
But I think 18 months is a little bit long. I know we have, the planning commission is reviewing ordinances, correct? Considering, where are you guys at with the review process?
Not very far.
No.
Okay. Would it be more reasonable then to kind of meet in the middle and say 12 months? I think 6 months is still going to be too short. I know when we did the electrical one, it was 6 months. But I think there was the ordinance that was more in place at that time, and there's just a lot more information that needs to be reviewed and considered for this particular one. I would recommend 12 months moratorium.
Well, did Wales put theirs in for 18?
They put theirs in for 18, which I think that's a bit,
Part of the reasoning for that was I think it's really hard to gather the information we want right now because this thing is still in planning stages and it's out in the future, and so our attorney's been trying to get information. I've been trying to get more information on it, and it's tough. So that's probably, I'm just assuming, but I think that's probably why Wales did 18 months.
Now, is there a state limit as far as how long a moratorium can be placed? Because we couldn't possibly stall this for 10 years if
No.
we wanted.
No.
So I'm just wondering if...
There's no legal basis in Michigan for a moratorium.
Really?
Yeah, they're not really worth the paper they're written on, but I won't tell anybody that.
Was the Wales moratorium done with the urging of the foster grant that they retained? Or was it before they retained foster grant?
I don't know.
I'm not aware of either. Yeah, I mean, if they're challenged, they often won't stand, but like Mark said, or someone here tonight, it wouldn't hurt to put it in place.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Mark. I think that as a township, we need to do something to kind of like, hey, take a step back. We really need to gather our information together and really look at it and look at everything, which is going to take time. I know we worked a lot on the medical marijuana one and stuff like that too, and that took about 12 months to do that ordinance, put that one in place.
I'm just
So
thinking if Wales set the precedence at 18 months
I think
for
the
we to
planning
change it.
commission is gonna really need some outside help.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
It's not
what's-
something we're gonna come up with on our own.
Al, can you explain to me why we should decrease it? Why is there some legal aspect to where we need to decrease it? Why can't we leave it at the 18 months?
We could, I just have never seen a moratorium in place for that long.
Right.
We can leave it there, like I said, I don't think it's gonna matter whether it's 6 months or
Right.
18.
But if
Exactly.
Wales
So-
made the bar at 18 months. Let's
Right.
stick with them. and
That's
Power numbers.
that's what I'm thinking right
But
there.
if it's completed in 12 months, then it's repealed, and then
Exactly.
you move
Right.
on. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I don't think it's that critical. I agree with what Doug said. I don't think there's any support from state law to,
I mean, I think from the people I've talked to, nobody really wants solar panels.
no.
I know, but it's not a matter of what you want. Sometimes
Right,
it's a
it's
matter
just
of
us as a
Yeah,
board,
yeah.
we're here to represent the community, so.
exactly. I know.
I think, like I said, longer term,
Well, considering the time it's gonna take, as Doug's already mentioned, to gather the information we need, let's just put it in place for 18 months and,
change if we have to.
yeah, if we don't
And
need it,
repeal
we
it
don't need
when
it.
needed. Okay,
Sure.
if it's before that. All right, who would like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion? You want a roll call on this as well?
Yep. Mark Baranowski,
Yes.
Mike Rushing.
Yes.
Al Titus.
Yes,
Don Beam, yes. Dwayne Hagel.
Yes.
motion carried.
I have one quick question.
Sure, Don.
About a year ago, our city looked at the ordinances for our planning commission also, and we decided to go out for an RFP. It's a request for proposal, and we sent it to numerous planners. And then we weighed through which one we wanted to use. We are just finishing ours up now, but I will tell you what, outside source is huge to help you go through and modernize your ordinances to get them to where they need to be. I can't imagine, and our planning commission said they weren't gonna do it, that it was just too difficult, too hard without somebody that had that kind of knowledge. And the company that we used helped us along the way. Every meeting, they would come in with 3 or 4, go through them with a fine tooth comb, and then they came back with the full book. It was just phenomenal, and yeah, we paid through the nose for it, but it was worth every cent.
Who did you use, Municicode?
We used Community Image Builders out of Fenton, and we went out for RFP, and we had 4 companies come back, and we interviewed all 4 to find out what they were gonna offer us, and then we decided which one we were gonna go to.
I know Wales has been using an attorney that was recommended by MTA, and that's all he does is solar and wind. And so we have that option as well. Yeah, I wouldn't know what the cost, begin to know what the cost might be on something like that, but if you could send us any information on that, Don, that'd be
We did
great.
a complete ordinance revision, and it was
Yeah.
$40,000, but that was every ordinance in the book.
Yeah,
And we were also implementing medical marijuana because that was passed in the November election.
But you also doesn't it also codify your ordinances so it makes it
Everything
easy?
was redlined out or which was redline new or crossed off if it was taken out. And it was so nice to look at to say, okay, this is what's changing. And we just passed that at the last meeting, so it's just very fresh.
send us some contact info and we'll
I will.
take a look at
I'll
it.
go back and look at my RFP and see which companies responded and let you know.
All right, thank you. I think we're gonna need all the help we can get on this thing.
I agree. I mean, I remember when I was at one of the planning commission meetings, even when Dave Rushing mentioned that this is just a huge undertaking. That these people are here to implement it, not to make it. And you need a company that's a planner that actually understands all that stuff and works with it every single day that can say, this is outdated. This is where it's going now.
True.
This is what you should implement.
Okay, thank you, Don. All right, moving on tonight. Did we finish that?
Yes, we did. That was,
Got me
we
lost.
had the roll call on that. Yep.
All right, we're at number 5 then, municipal civil infractions
Yes.
ordinance.
Yep.
Can you give the board just a brief background on this, Don? You and I have been talking
Yeah.
about it.
Yep. Yep. And I've been communicating a lot with our township attorney on this, consulting with Mr. Vickery on this as well. So I went back and pretty much kind of to our past conversations here at the board meeting about the history of something not going to court and not getting through, that it got thrown out kind of thing. And I kept thinking to myself, why was that?
The civil infractions were tossed
Yeah.
out
Yep.
only one time when Paul wrote them.
Yeah.
And we think we found out why.
Yeah, yep. So I don't have a whole background on that, so I started doing some research and some digging and stuff and through the office and looking at it, and this was really helpful in finding out the information. So as I'm reading through, I look at our ordinances in comparison to what the recommendations are in here, and I saw where we have our ordinance specific to the ordinance enforcement officer, and then we have an ordinance specific to establishing the Municipal Violations Bureau. So it's establishing the bureau. And as I'm reading through this book, I'm like, we're missing a very important piece, and that's the procedures. And that's actually a separate ordinance on establishing the municipal civil infractions procedures. And consulted with our township attorney. He came back with some examples of other areas, other municipalities, how they have theirs set up, and to kind of use and what we kind of work together on ours. And also, one of the samples that I looked at had their bureau establishment part of the civil infraction ordinance itself. So we had the procedures and the establishment of the bureau all in one ordinance.
So let me stop you just for a minute, John. You can't write civil infractions and have them stand in court unless you have a bureau.
Right.
A civil infraction bureau, which is what?
And the procedures, from what I'm understanding. Because when you go to court, the court is looking at our ordinances for enforcing.
Right.
They're not looking at our policies. And that's, I think, where in line the confusion was. When I was looking through our ordinances, I found the two ordinances that we had, and then I'm going through our policies, and I see a civil infraction policy, but policies are what are usually in place backing up what our ordinances are, and setting forth like our office procedures for those ordinances.
Right.
That's pretty much, you know, how policies are typically written. So talking with him, he looked this over, fine-tooth comb, and, you know, he says, yep, this is good. What Mr. Vickery would also like to do, once this has gone through and approved, he wants to sit down and go over each of our ordinances and look at the penalties of each of the different ones and stuff, and then kind of work through the procedures of how it's going to look for each one of them. And if there's any changes that need to be made, we can make either a blanket amendment relating to the penalties and fines of each of the ordinances, or we can amend each ordinance as we review them. So, but he wants to sit down and go over that together.
So the changes that we're making tonight,
On the procedures and establishing the bureau, this ordinance would repeal the current bureau because we're incorporating it into this one.
and when we make these changes tonight, that would enable us for our next ordinance enforcement officer to actually issue civil infractions.
Yes.
And then we would see them stand in court rather than have them tossed out.
Yes.
Like Paul did only one and they threw it out.
Yeah,
And I think it was because of what we've uncovered here.
Yeah, this is what, out of this book here, there's a little...
That's the MTA.
Yeah, this is the MTA, because this is, I can tell, this is where we established our first two ordinances was from this book.
Right.
And there's a snippet here I'm just going to read out loud. The Township Standalone Municipal Civil Infraction Procedures Ordinance should expressly state which township officials or officials can issue municipal civil infraction tickets. And let me see here. What was it? Oh, sorry. Let me find the right spot. Sorry, wrong snippet. If a township has adopted municipal civil infraction procedures, it is extremely important that the township utilize only state court administrator approved notice and civil infraction citation forms. I think this is why it got thrown out, because on the very next page, as I'm reading, if the wrong form is utilized, it is possible that the district court could dismiss the township's case. And I believe that's what happened, because we don't have an established ordinance on municipal civil infractions procedures.
Right. We had
And
the ordinance in place.
we had the Bureau establishing,
Okay, I know we had part of it in place.
we had a policy that was approved, but the policy is really insignificant because we didn't have the ordinance in place.
Okay.
We have the ordinance for the OEO, their duties, their authority, and the other ordinance was establishing the Bureau and the procedures of the Bureau, not the civil infractions themselves. And that's the piece that we're missing. That, along with the state-approved forms, because the forms that that Paul Wilson had were just homemade township forms that we had done up, and so it's not an official state-approved form. And only certain printers in the state of Michigan are allowed to print these forms because of the sensitive nature of them. They're used by law enforcement and municipalities.
Right.
There's different functions, and they look like
Well,
this.
the civil infraction would certainly be an incentive for people to do something that won't do anything, and that's been part of Fred's problem, is not being able to write a civil infraction. It's just talk and warnings, and you know, some of these people just let it go in one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
But once a civil infraction is issued, then they have, the burden's on them to either deny responsibility or accept it. And if they accept it, they have to pay the ticket. And if they don't clean it up in X amount of days, and the next ticket gets bigger, they keep growing in size and dollar amount.
Yep. And this ordinance basically establishes the procedures of issuing the citations and the notices, and then giving them the instructions of coming to the Bureau, either admitting responsibility, paying the fine there at the Bureau, or saying admitting responsibility but with reason, and then that would go to the magistrate, or completely denying responsibility of it, which would, and then just go straight to the magistrate for that.
So if I was in violation and I was issued a civil infraction here in Riley Township, say for $100, the first one, I would, once we establish this bureau, I'd be able to come right up here to this office and pay that.
Yes.
We wouldn't have to be paying at the county level.
No.
It'd be paid right here.
Correct.
And then I'd be given, say, for example, 30 days to clean that up, my mess. And if I didn't clean it up, the ordinance enforcement officer is going to come back and he's going to issue me another ticket.
At a higher amount.
That one's going to be $150 or $200. And, you know, then we have to make a decision at some point. Either we're going to clean this up or keep paying the fines.
Right.
But once we establish this tonight, what we do, then our civil infractions would stand in court. And we wouldn't have the magistrate throwing them out like they did with Paul.
And then maybe Fred would stick around longer.
I don't know, that'd be up to Fred.
So what would happen if they didn't pay their fines?
That's what I was just gonna ask.
It would go to the magistrate.
500 is the max, I think, that civil infraction can be written for.
Well, this ordinance, if you read through it,
It goes up to 1,500
Yeah.
or,
yeah, so you're,
yeah.
the max, well, this is the thing. It's civil infractions, you can keep going on. But the misdemeanors, violations, fine cannot exceed 500. That's where
That's
you're,
what I was thinking of.
you were thinking of the misdemeanors, yes. Yeah.
Well, if they don't pay it, then it's gonna end up in court action, court
Right,
proceeding.
and then once you have the court action, then you can place a lien on whatever.
It'll help.
Well, it'll give us a little more leverage
It will.
to clear up some of these that
Foreclose on
are
our
ongoing.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, yeah, then we can establish our correct policy along with it.
Yeah.
I do have a question. So we have to establish who's on that bureau, correct?
Yeah,
At some point in time.
the policy, actually, if you read the policy that's following this here, basically
I
it
know
does.
it's you and Al. So
We'll have a bureau clerk.
The
in the
bureau
office,
clerk, right,
Which would be
me, deputy.
yeah.
and the
Yes.
deputy. Okay.
So I would be the bureau clerk, and then
Right.
Pat would be the deputy bureau clerk.
It didn't state how many had to be on the bureau, so I
No.
would imagine just two.
But that's where our
correct?
policies come into place, so
Oh,
that's
okay.
why it's established in
I
our
gotcha.
policy.
I got you.
So, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So what do you recommend, Dawn? I know you've been working on this for some time.
Yeah, I think that we should adopt this. I recommend adopting this, and then even if because
good.
at least it's established, and if we need to tweak it along the way, then we tweak it along the way. It's easier to amend, and right now, we don't have this. We're missing this piece.
And wouldn't it be at the ordinance enforcement's discretion as to whether he wants to issue a civil infraction or not?
Well, it kind of really outlines pretty much the procedure for that. Because your protocol and really the role of the ordinance enforcement officer is that first initial contact, and many times they're not there so much to confront them. They're there also to teach them and to educate them, because they may not be aware that they're in violation. Number one,
Sure.
Some may and just don't care.
Right.
But a good bulk of the complaints that kind of come in are just completely unaware.
Yeah.
And really, the role of the OEO is educator. You're teaching them, you're instructing them what the violation is, what the ordinance is, and how to come into compliance with it. So that's that educational communication piece that's really vital, and that's really the key part right there is continually working with them. And then giving the guidelines and the deadlines, saying, okay, let's work with this. How can we get this done by X date or within so many days?
Right.
And then if no action is taken at that point, then you communicate. But there is steps. You have to do that initial contact, and that first notice, second notice, and going on.
It can't hurt. And when you consider the time that Fred has worked on some of these cases that are still out there because you just can't get these people to act. This would be an incentive again, and it would also be a money saver for the township, I think, because it would be a revenue for us too, because for the ones that are just flat out ignoring, disregarding it, basically then you're going to rack up the penalties. So the incentive there is to come into compliance, or it's going to hurt you in the pocketbook. Right, exactly.
So if
and that's the only thing that really communicates to them is the pocketbook.
Well, I was just going to state to the audience who could actually issue those civil infraction tickets.
Yep.
Authorized persons who can issue these civil infraction tickets are St. Clair County Sheriff and all other deputy sheriffs of said county, the Township Ordinance Enforcement Officer, the Township Zoning Administrator, the Township Building Inspector, and the Township Mechanical and Electrical Inspectors.
Right, and they are of that because of the different parts of them.
Each of those, especially with the zoning. So, if we had a problem, we could just tell our zoning administrator, check this out. If there's a violation, go ahead, take care of it. Just like we do with Fred,
because
being
the ticket
OEO position.
Yeah, if you look at the ticket, I know I didn't give you guys a copy of the actual ticket here. So they're going to be indicating on here what is the what's
the department.
Yeah, so it's going to say
it?
Is it a nuisance ordinance? What are they in violation of? Is it a nuisance ordinance, a licensing ordinance, a zoning ordinance, a sign lighting, display ordinance, animal or fowl ordinance, building code, plumbing code, mechanical code? So this is where the building inspectors, because they do that now, they do that enforcement piece now because they're in violation.
Yeah, if he maintains a building, there's a fine attached to it.
Right, yeah.
But if there was ever a case where a stop work order, he issues a stop work order, and they completely disregard it and continue on, he can. This is the ticket he should be issuing, because if it goes further, he can go to court for it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So if they don't comply.
So we would have to go through each of these departments and tell them, hey, we've changed some things around. You can.
Yeah.
So we have to put this in place.
I think it's going to.
And when they're admitting the responsibility, that's all pre-written in here. So it's not that the bureau here in the office is going to come in and we're dictating what they're. It's already pre-done here. So it's just a matter of if they're signing off on this, they're going to indicate, admit, pay fine, admit. But I had the special circumstance. And I really want to put it in at that point. Once they say I have a special circumstance or anything like that, they don't pay the fine. It goes straight to the magistrate to decide. It does not come to the bureau.
He makes the call. We don't.
He makes the call. We don't make the call. Nope. So basically, the bureau itself is just the collection agency. It's the bookkeeping side of it and the record keeping side of it, and that's it. Not the decision making. We don't make the decision. We don't make the judgment. None of that. So it's all pre-done on the forms, and this is where, that's why the state has the approved forms to be used, and there's two different types of them that are used. So we're looking at the pricing of those right now. We were able to contact one publisher to get a pricing. I'd like to get another publisher to find what their costs are as well too, but it's really pretty reasonable, looking at a couple of different options, because we are required to list what our hours are of the bureau, because it's really specific, saying that you have to report to the bureau or you report to the court, depending on which citation that you're using. So we have to list the bureau address, phone number, and the hours on the ticket for them to come to. So, and there's a cost factor when you customize that work, or we're going to look at possibly getting a custom stamp, order the books and just stamp it on there, or trying to look at a different cost-saving ways to do that.
Yeah, Dawn has put a lot of time into this, and she and I have talked about it numerous times, and I've talked with Mr. Vickery about it. We need this in place to give the next ordinance enforcement officer that option to issue a civil infraction if he so chooses to. And I don't think we're going to get a grip on this ordinance enforcement stuff in our township until we put this in place and start using it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 60, 2023, municipal civil infractions ordinance.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and support. Is there any further discussion? Okay, if not, Dawn can do a vote.
Yep. Dwayne Hagel,
Yes.
Mark Baranowski,
Yes.
Dawn Beam, yes. Mike Rushing,
Yes.
Al Titus.
Yes, motion carried. All right, can we move on then, Dawn?
So the next item that I need to do along with this, the next item is the Chapter 9 Ordinance Enforcement, Chapter 9 Policy that kind of coincides with this.
Right.
So this is pretty much kind of like, it doesn't need to be a whole heck of a lot of specific detail, but it's pretty much like what general practices. There's really, when I did some more research in this, this is pretty much the procedural, like, policy kind of thing that it really needs to be followed, that goes along with the ordinance that we just passed. So this really gives a lot more detailed information as far as the procedures and policies of it.
Spells out the authority,
Yep.
the duties, the authorized persons.
Yeah.
So there's a lot here.
Yep. And the more real detailed information is the state and municipal civil infractions that's put forth by the state of Michigan. That really gives a great deal of information and the statutes and stuff. So our policy pretty much is saying that we're following what the state guidance has, and this goes through mirrors what our current ordinances are in place, and what our file should look like, and what forms are we going to use, and how the bureau clerk and deputy are established. That's the primary of this policy.
So we need this.
And the forms, the generic forms, because really the only forms that are going to be used within this policy is the ordinance violation worksheet, the initial complaint notice, and then the first notice of violation pertaining to the blight. Everything else is going to be the state issue forms that are going to be used for any further notice violations, whether it's the second, third, or fourth, are all going to be indicated on the state issued forms.
Yes. All right.
So I would like to make the motion then to adopt the Riley Township Board Administration Policies Chapter 9 on Ordinance Enforcement Administration.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Do you want a roll call on this stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Dawn Beam, yes. Mike Rushing?
Yes.
Al Titus?
Yes.
Mark Baranowski?
Yes.
Dwayne Hagel?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And then I need to take one more business then, is to rescind our current policy number 28, municipal civil infractions. We're
I'll make that
rescinding
motion.
that.
I'll second.
No further discussion, we'll vote on that.
Dwayne Hagel,
Yes.
Mark Baranowski.
Yes.
Don Beam, yes. Al Titus.
Yes.
Mike Rushing.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion carried. All right, move on tonight to number 7, house trailer ordinance amendments.
Yeah, there's been some ongoing discussion in our office, some confusion. Took this to the township attorney to look at both ordinances. We have ordinance number 6 and the zoning ordinance 1209. I remember on the planning commission going over 1209, discussing it. We have kind of a little bit of a conflict between the two and the house trailer, and what the intent of a temporary occupancy is like. So going over, had Mr. Vickery look it over, and I asked him about, I'm like, what do you think about on ordinance number 6 about omitting section 3 item C, completely eliminating C 1 through 5 altogether, because we have the zoning ordinance 1209 that completely covers everything relating to the temporary occupancy due to like tornado, weather disaster, loss of home, fire, all that kind of thing. And he was in agreement with that. He says you could do that.
So we're just trying to clean this up. This has always been a bone of contention.
Yeah.
You know, it's always generated a lot of confusion.
Well, this ordinance 6 was, well, you see by the number, ordinance 6, was established in 1967.
Yeah.
So I think that the intent of the original ordinance was for like campground type trailers, house trailers. But I know the township attorney did ask, though, and our building inspector's not here tonight to answer this question, but do we allow like a modular home to be set on a foundation in our township? So that was like his question. Does this ordinance pertain to that at all? Or is that not allowed under our current codes, kind of thing? But I think that the section that I'm addressing, relating to the temporary occupancy of a trailer located outside of a licensed trailer camp, doesn't really pertain to that.
No.
And I would make the recommendation that then to amend ordinance number 6 for the house trailer to repeal under section 3, item C, 1 through 5, repeal all that as indicated on here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've looked at this and talked to Mr. Vickery. I talked with Doug Wendland about it, our building inspector, and I think that this, my opinion, this amendment here is needed and should have been done long ago.
Yeah.
Just to clean up and eliminate some of the confusion.
We do get a lot of calls in the office asking if someone's building a house, if they can set up and live in their trailer while they're building their house.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of the confusion is, because here we have in this policy, it doesn't really say, but yet in 1209 it says only in a natural disaster you can.
Right.
But then we have our policy that coincides with 1209 saying only in natural disaster can you. So I don't see anywhere else in our policy that allows a temporary occupancy in a trailer at any time, other than this here part, and that's where the confusion lies in.
Yeah. Well, let's move forward with this then tonight. Is there a motion to amend this policy?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? Okay, if not, I'll respond.
Mike Rushing,
Yes.
Mark Baranowski,
Yes.
Al Titus,
Yes.
Don Beam, yes. Dwayne Hagel.
Yes.
Motion carried. Last one we have on our new business list tonight is firearms, weapons, and hunting ordinance draft. It's come to our attention, and I've been discussing this with our attorney, that we need an ordinance. Our goal is not to eliminate or prohibit target practicing in the township, but we want to regulate it. We think that we need to have hours limited for the use of firearms in our township. We think we need to have a inspection to approve a safe backstop. Most of you remember we lost a resident a couple of years ago because somebody on the other road a half mile away was shooting a high-powered weapon that we're not even allowed to hunt with in Lower Michigan, and did not have a safe backstop, and that bullet traveled to the next road through her window and killed her. You know, the DNR does not allow hunters like myself and any other that are here tonight to use high-powered weapons below Bay City as we hunt for deer. And so, yet we have people who go out with any kind of high-powered weapon, military weapon or whatever, and begin to target shoot with them. We have no idea. When we get these calls, and Fred's got them, I've got them, we get these calls and somebody's shooting, we have no idea whether they have a safe place to shoot there, or those bullets, which can go several miles, are able to do it. We have no idea. So we're looking at these different drafts, and the ones I looked at in our packet here tonight really don't address the hours of shooting or the inspection for a safe backstop. And that's what I would like to see, that we adopt something that a person that wants to shoot in their own property, all they have to do is call our ordnance enforcement inspector, have him come out there and see where they're shooting and what they're shooting into, and make certain that that's safe. And then limit the hours to a certain time of the day and maybe days of the week. I just, you know, I think we got to do something with this. I think the time has come. The DNR doesn't want to be troubled with it. The state police don't want to be bothered with it. The county sheriff doesn't want to be bothered. Nobody wants to help us with this matter. Yes, we have a comment on that.
Well, your shooting hours, just like your hunting.
Yes.
A certain time to a certain time. After that, it's illegal.
It is.
Unless you're hunting raccoons.
Okay.
Or coyotes. There's certain,
Right.
there's certain
Night
stuff
hunting.
they can use.
Night hunting, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But when you're target shooting at 10 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
there's that's a problem.
Yeah, I was out in my yard the other night splitting some wood, and I heard the shooting started around 5 o'clock. Well, you know, it's getting dark at 5 o'clock, and it went right steady to 5:30. And I'm thinking, you know, I don't know how they're seeing the shoot at 5:30, but they're out there blasting away. And we've gotten repeated calls from the same locations about people shooting. You know, if I wanted to shoot that much, I would get a membership in a gun club where I knew I could go out and shoot safely all I wanted. But when it's, you know, our townships are just not, we're too populated for that anymore, and I think we have to do something to protect our residents. I don't want to see another fatality like we saw a couple of years ago here. So I would ask that the board review these drafts. I'm going to talk to Mr. Vickery about it again, and there's nothing in these drafts that I saw that limit the hours of shooting, target shooting, or again, make sure that the backstop is safe.
Yeah, I talked with our attorney on this as well too, getting the copies to go along with it. So we have samples from Davison Township. There's also Oxford Township, and then there was another one here out of state one, but it gave a lot more information. You know, when I talked to him, he recommended that because of the nature of this ordinance, he recommended possibly of forming a committee in the development of this ordinance. Yeah. And possibly, I would even like to see like a public hearing on the matter once we get a little bit closer as to, you know, more information that we kind of want.
Sure.
Before actually adopting this ordinance, actually hold a public hearing on the ordinance, give everybody a chance to review it before actually adopting something like this.
Yeah, I agree, Dawn. We need to do some more work on this. I had a resident call me the other day where they've had excessive shooting near his place. They have horses. And he said by the time he got the horses in the barn, it was still 2 hours before he could get them calmed down. You know, it's just, again, we are way too populated to not have some kind of regulation on a shooting ordinance in this township, I think. And so we're going to work on it, and I think a workshop would be a good idea, a public hearing, try to get the input from the residents. Am I out there too far? What do they think? What do we want? I know I'm a sportsman, I'm a hunter, and when I have any serious shooting to do, I go to a gun club.
Yeah.
Now, if there's just a simple matter of me sighting in my own gun and a few shots, I'll make sure I have a safe backstop and do that.
Well, yeah, and there's really, as a township municipality, we are allowed to put ordinances and regulations in place to protect the public health, safety, and the welfare of our residents. And we're not looking to like restrict sales or anything like that. There's none of that. This is just strictly regulating certain things relating to firearms and hunting and weapons and stuff within our township to keep everybody safe and keep everybody happy.
It's amazing to me that the DNR and all their restrictions and regulations for us hunters, that I have seen absolutely nothing about target shooting.
There is virtually none.
There's nothing there. We had an issue, Doug, you remember it, not far from where you live a couple of years ago, and basically the DNR is uninterested. We had one incident over on Lambs Road near you, Mark, where a guy was target shooting and called us and said, hey, I got a bullet hole in my pole barn.
Right.
Well, I can tell you a couple other things. I got a knock on the door one evening. I get up, it's my neighbor. He goes, hey, I need to talk to you. I said, well, what's going on? Well, come here, I need to show you something. About 1.5 feet away from my bedroom window was an arrow sticking out of my house.
In the wall.
Yes, on the outside. And I was doing some general maintenance around one of my exterior doors on the south side. I was wondering, I seen a little scuff. There's a .22 bullet into the casing
kill
around
you.
the door. Yeah.
That'll kill you,
So,
that caliber.
yeah.
So, yeah, we need to look at this, take a hard look at it. Again, we're not trying to prohibit it, we're just trying to regulate it and see what we can do to make it safe. And I think that we can do that. We just need to get our heads together and get some feedback from the residents and see where we can take this.
I would say, as far as me, I'm all about like the noise ordinance and stuff. It's time to go to bed and should be hearing this stuff, but reading through this, I'm taking back living because they actually have like BB guns in here. I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of
bow and
unanswered
arrows.
questions.
I mean,
Yeah.
I love shooting probably more than anybody in this room.
Well,
It's part of being a gun owner, a responsible gun owner, is you're responsible for every one of those bullets.
But
I've got a CPL,
But
I carry
unfortunately,
it.
not
Exactly.
everybody's
So I mean,
responsible.
when I take a shot, whether I'm going after a bad person and I miss and I hit somebody else, I'm responsible for that bullet.
here's another thing. According to this one, it says you cannot discharge a firearm or weapon within 450 feet. If I've got an intruder coming in my house, I'm less than 450 feet from my neighbor. I can't shoot him.
Right.
That's for hunters, I believe. That's a DNR. They copy that
Well,
on
still,
the DNR manual.
but it's still, it doesn't. It says a firearm. It doesn't say if you're out hunting.
In the same breath, I've got a lot of friends' houses where they have backstops, 200-yard shooting. It says I have to have a written permission from them every time I go out there.
Exactly. That was
I call my buddy Jerry, like, hey, I just got a new AR. I want to go out and shoot it.
Yeah. Well, and that's why it's important
Yeah.
to have this discussion in a workshop, that kind of,
It is.
all these different scenarios kind of thing, because this was just pretty much incorporate, when I talked with the attorney, he's like, this is a start.
Exactly.
And then we have that conversation and we look at other ordinances, what are other communities kind of doing, and we build from that and have those conversations on it.
I'm all
so.
for the hours, because like I said, I've been up at night, 11 o'clock, some of them down Raleigh Center's just got, it sounds like they've got fully auto. Like a half hour straight, and it's like, seriously, who can
Yeah.
afford to shoot
Well, I'd be
like that?
at the office, but I can hear
How
them.
can you afford that kind of shooting? I can't.
Are we, the public, gonna be able to see this total ordinance and whatever?
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah,
I would
before-
like to get one of our residents in on the workshop as well. So we'll let you know where that's going to go. But yeah, this is a start. We just see a need here that we think we need to address, and I think it should have been addressed a couple of years ago after, again, we lost a resident here.
Is that gonna include shotguns? Cause the shotgun doesn't. Is
Like I
that-
said, they have BB guns on this list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guns?
BB guns, slingshots, bow and arrow.
This is
It's
just.
like I said, it's not so much I think that we should be trying to regulate this. It comes down to being a safe and responsible gun owner.
The problem is, there are some that are not.
Because quite honestly, I can do a lot of damage with a knife. I can do a lot of damage with a brick.
But sometimes we have to be very literal, because not everybody really understands vagueness or or assumptions kind of thing.
But still, when you buy a gun, you realize you're responsible for every one of those bullets.
But the problem we have is the mentality. For example, this shooting that I referred to twice already, where a resident lost their life. This was a person that lived out of the community, that came out to a friend's house, and they think that once they're out here, they're out in the country and anything goes.
City people.
Blast away. And it's like, no, that's not the case. Drive down one of our back roads and see how many residents we have. You know, we've got 12 new houses in the township this past year.
But in the same breath, you have like you said, a city slicker comes out here, they're not going to know what our ordinances are.
No.
And it's only going to come into place after a tragedy
It comes
happens.
down to
Exactly.
common sense.
So,
Yeah.
If you're gonna shoot a weapon and you're not shooting into a background,
Yep.
then you're just
Taking it, you're rolling the dice.
discharging the state laws that prohibit that,
Yep.
period.
I have a house 3 doors down from me, the people come up on the weekend, no backstop, shoot.
Wow.
It sounds like Camp Grayling down there on
Yeah.
a Sunday afternoon.
yeah, it's like, shouldn't be.
That's the.
Matter of fact, they're
the
shooting
issue
right up
that
the
you have
river.
to address that, and the timing end of it is something that
If,
most people should have common sense with that too. You don't start shooting at 7 o'clock in the morning when you target practice.
Yeah.
You keep going, and you don't go into dark. I mean,
shoot in the middle of the day, when people
Right.
aren't trying to sleep, most people anyway, but.
You know, you can
And it's-
start late morning and go. And
There's a good reason the DNR does not let us use high-powered rifles down here to hunt with. Again, I don't mean to be redundant, but there's a good reason for that. It's because of the population. You know, and so what sense does it make? We can't hunt with them, and we shouldn't be able to down here. And yet we can go out with these weapons and just blast away? That makes no sense at all. So anyway, we're looking at it. We're going to continue to look at it. We just want the residents that are here tonight to know that we see a concern here, and we're going to try to address it as best we can. We want your feedback. Text me, call me, whatever. Tell me what you think, and we'll gather information for a while, and then we'll try to put something in place.
Like you said, unfortunately, I think you have to come up with something because law enforcement's not doing it.
You know, Fred, you've called them again and again. They won't come out. They don't even want to come out. If they come out, they just, well, you know, yeah, you can target practice, yeah, well, what? You know, they just don't want to be bothered with it. They got too many other things to eat up their time. They don't want to be bothered with calls that people are target shooting in their backyard. And I understand they're pressed for time, but we got to do something with this, and we will. So any other thoughts from the board tonight before we move on?
Nope.
You want to table this so that way we keep it as unfinished
Yes.
business?
Let's make a motion. I'll make that motion to table.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, any comments from the board members tonight not already addressed? I don't know what that would be. Maybe there is some.
Nope.
If not,
I
is
don't
there a
have
motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion at 8:27.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Meeting adjourned at
Man, that's the right time, too. You know?